magnificent. Good morning, Colonel, sir. Fine bright today. I hear down at the village, prices is picking up, and it's a big year for cotton.
And heroic, a charismatic superstar who leapt on the screen. Men wanted to be like him and women wanted to be with him. But in real life, he was complicated, longing for recognition as both an actor and writer. Devilishly handsome and charming, he was a risk-taker who flouted society's conventions and inevitably landed in trouble. For him, life was a series of adventures. Making movies was one.
Well, this is Colonel Braxton Beauregard Burlique the Fifth, adventurer, treasure hunter, swashbuckler extraordinaire, at your service, madam. Well, tonight's talk's going to be on a World War II German grave marker helmet. This is something that, well, you may have seen in old period photos and such, but I kind of wanted to educate you all on what these look like and what they are. As you know, there were a lot of German military personnel that were killed during the war, and a lot of battlefield burials. And what they did on that was, as you've seen, I'm sure, in old pictures, they'd mark the graves with helmets, sometimes iron cross insignia on crosses, which I have another episode on that. But a lot of time they marked it with a helmet. And a number of years ago, I ran across this helmet. And as you can see, it's a, let's take a look. That is actually a, let me see here. Oh, that's an M35, because it has the actual rivet in there. But it does have the band around it, which indicates at the factory the helmet didn't quite measure up to the standard. So they issued these to field police, air raid wardens, anti-aircraft gunners, secondary combat personnel. And this particular helmet, this particular helmet, you can see that it's painted black. It does have rust crevices on it. The liner's missing, as you all can see. You can tell this has spent some time in the elements, because you can see that even in here. So what they would do with some of these graves is they would remove the liner sometimes. Sometimes they'd have the complete helmet on the cross, but sometimes the liner would be removed, and as you can see, there's holes in the helmet, these nail holes, and you can always tell one of these grave helmets usually has a hole on top. Sometimes you'll run into a regular helmet, some idiot converted it into a lamp, but this one you can tell by its condition, and the hole, that looks like a nail hole there. We got a nail hole here. We got a nail hole here. Basically, these were to hold the helmet on top of the cross, and they'd paint them like a black paint to hold up in the elements. Usually, these were done, in the field, temporary graves and such, and I would imagine this was one that some GI wanted a souvenir, so he plunked it off of the temporary grave. No identification on the helmet, So we're not going to have to worry about somebody saying, well, Colonel, you should return that. Well, who do I return it to? There's no name on it. There's millions of these helmets. A lot of times those temporary graves were dug up and they were interned in a German cemetery. But sometimes you'll run into these in the collector field. I haven't seen too many of them. I remember talking to a fella, and this was I remember this clearly. It was in 1981. A guy I met, we got talking, and he had been in Italy in 1950. He's an American, and he said, "Oh yes, Colonel, these helmets were on the graves over in Italy, and you'll see period photos that show. Oh, there's a hole in the back there too. It looks like so. They had a bunch of supports for the helmet. You can see right there." These grave helmets. I know there was one that was on a story that the crocodile tear guy, I believe he's in. I think he's in the Netherlands. He researches helmets, and he showed one that was on a grave in France, like 1944, and then somehow that helmet, it got off the grave. It was a named helmet, but I didn't see anybody return it to the guy's family, and that helmet, I believe, is in a collection today. But it's interesting, the things you wonder, all those graves over there. I've seen some marked with rifles and helmets. You wonder where all that stuff went, because that stuff was temporary and they reburied those soldiers. But this one, I imagine, was probably either an unfortunate air raid warden, maybe an anti-aircraft gunner, maybe it was a medic, maybe some secondary person. It could have been a Volkstrom soldier. I don't know. Could have been. There were a lot of bombings. It could have been some air raid warden or somebody killed during an air raid. I don't know, but I was a little surprised when I did run across this piece, because when I saw it, I knew instantly what it was. And I thought, well, these purists, they want the helmet with the perfect paint and the decal. They grade the decal. But to me, I mean, this is a real war relic. It's something that was done in the field, and it's a relic of really the carnage of war. And it's something. It's not like it's not my top helmet, but it's an interesting item. It certainly has its place in my collection as a relic of those field burials that they had for these poor, unfortunate people. And it's just something, if you run across, at least you know what you're looking at there, boy. Another little lesson from your old friend, the Colonel. So anyway, I'm going to sign off now. It's getting a little late, and as you all know, I'm an old man and I need my sleep. Well, this is Colonel Braxton Beauregard Burlique the Fifth, adventurer, treasure hunter, swashbuckler extraordinaire, at your service, madam. Signing off. Goodbye, y'all.
outstanding.
Yes,
really.
very good. Very good. Well, that's a hell of a start. Okay, collectors, here we go again. Another DCT.
Oh my God!
We were getting up there, Rob. I think it's